Hello everyone, welcome to weekly SIG Autoscaling meeting for Monday, 7th of April 2025. Got a couple of items on the agenda. Philip and Ryan, do you want to take it away first?
Hey, sure. So we have made a proposal with Ryan for a new working group called Node Lifecycle that aims to solve like a lot of issues regarding the node lifecycle or like the node state and pod lifecycle, like mainly the termination part. And there are like quite a lot of issues, even like discussed here in the autoscaling area. For example, when you drain a node, then you have like you can have like applications that are not cooperating and do not like want to leave the node, or you have like you cannot, for example, have like a single replica application that could be like a scaled out without a disruption. So like there's like multiple issues there. So I'm going to ask this SIG if they are fine with like being included as a stakeholder in this working group. And yeah, and if there is maybe any volunteer who would like to help us organize or lead this group, like there is basically a lot of other work like SIGs that are interested in this effort. So it's like a long-term and complicated topic. So yeah, I would like to hear your thoughts.
I came along to the discussion at the uncovered session at the Maintainer Summit. I think there's others in that in the email thread of like I said. I think there is definitely value to this, and I think, as you say, there's a pile of ways it interacts with projects that we have, particularly cluster autoscaler, etc. And Carpenter. So yeah, I think we definitely want to be involved. Off the top of my head, I don't know who's best placed to sort of turn up and represent the SIG. I don't know if there's anyone on the call definitely wanting to get involved, but we can sort of have a discussion on Slack, I think, and figure that out. There's a couple of the leadership of the SIG that aren't on the call this week, myself and Ray Arlo. I don't know. Have you got any immediate thoughts on this, Ray, or have you had a look over the thread and get a issue?
Yeah, just catching up. So no immediate thoughts. I think that's the right approach, Guy. We can just take it to Slack and see maybe who would be involved. I think I'm less familiar with this area. Jack maybe more. So I would love to just discuss amongst us and see how we can best participate.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, sure. Like we can like sync later, and like we can also decide how to proceed or with your involvement, like once we kick off the group. So like we would like to do that in the upcoming weeks. So it will take us at least 2 weeks to actually talk to everybody who would like to be involved. So at least we get the general feel of like the community.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good to hear. And yeah, as you mentioned regarding, for example, the cluster autoscaler, for example, I am also like this group is is based on some of the work I did regarding the node maintenance cap and the eviction request cap, which, for example, the node maintenance cap, like these caps which were just like a start to kick off, like if people were like interested, and like it's like there is still no consensus that like the features will look like they seem in the cap. So we will have to iterate on that, and maybe it will look even completely different. But for example, in the node maintenance cap, like we wanted to make an API of the basically the node drain logic. So basically components like cluster autoscaler could offload their internal logic on the drain and would just call the API or create, and would the premise was like that we could share like implementation for node drain.
Yeah.
Since even like Carpenter and other projects, like everybody has like their own special way of doing things, so it would be great like to get your feedback on that, since you are in that area. Actually, I'm not that familiar with your project, so yeah, that would be very nice to hear your feedback.
Awesome. Okay. Cool. Anything else from anyone on that topic? Sweet. Thanks. Yeah, I'll stick a comment in on the GitHub pull request, but yeah, I think all sounds good. Cool. Quick one for me. This was sort of flagged by I think Brian Borum a couple of weeks ago, before in the lead up to KubeCon, that whilst we deliberately started and broke out the autoscaling enhancement proposal sort of process as far more lightweight when we're proposing things that aren't touching things in tree, we don't actually have much in the way of documentation at all around it, which does make it a bit confusing when we ask people to open one up, and then I think they don't necessarily understand our expectations or what our process is. So yeah, I don't know if there's anyone who's raised one recently and has opinions on sort of what we need out of it, what is best for users in terms of keeping it lightweight enough, but also making sure that we're not rolling things out that are impacting users in a negative way. Sort of looking for a volunteer who would be willing to sort of have at least make a first draft of documentation around that. I shall take that as no willing volunteers, and I'll create a GitHub issue at least, and we can maybe discuss it a bit there. I think mostly currently impacts the VPA, given that we're with CA stuff now. We're obviously trying to collaborate a bit more, collaborate with Carpenter, make sure that we have standardized terminology across the two. But
Guy, I'm happy to help with this one. I think just given I've had my hands in a few of the last AEPs, I think at least I can probe some folks and get that kind of moving. So yeah, okay. I'm happy to take the lead on this one.
Okay, sweet. Thank you very much, Ray. Cool. That was all we had on the agenda for this week. Is there anything else anyone wants to raise?
Anything interesting or noteworthy for those people who weren't at KubeCon, like from the SIG Autoscaling perspective? How was meeting a bunch of people, I don't know, Maintainer Summit and so on?
Yeah, Maintainer Summit was good. I don't think the unconference sessions were recorded from memory. I need to double check that. If they were, there were a couple of very interesting ones there, including around the node lifecycle proposal. There were quite a few interesting talks in the autoscaling space as well. One from Brian and Adam on their VPA proposal with the sort of demo code running, and there was also one from Rahul and LinkedIn about on how they make use of the gRPC expander with cluster autoscaler. Some sort of dynamic creation of working node groups based on benchmarking data and stuff, which I find very interesting.
Cool, thanks.
General hallway track. A few interesting discussions at the sort of meet the SIG bits. Cool. If we don't have anything else for the agenda for this week, then I shall give you a quarter of an hour back. Thanks very much, everyone. See you next week.
Thanks, Guy.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.